Today we're diving into one of the most incredible, most emotionally complete stories ever told. A story so powerful that in the Quran, it's actually called the most beautiful of stories. This is the journey of Prophet Yusuf. And this quote really tells you why Yusuf's story is so unique. You see, unlike a lot of other prophetic stories that are spread across different chapters, his life is laid out in one single, continuous narrative. Its beauty isn't just in the drama, and trust me, there's a lot of drama, but in its incredibly deep lessons about envy, patience, and what it truly means to forgive.
All right, so let's set the scene. Our story kicks off in the land of Canaan with a young boy named Yusuf. He's deeply loved by his father, the Prophet Yaqub, you might also know him as Jacob, and this love, this special bond, well, it's about to become the spark for a huge family conflict.
So one night, Yusuf has this absolutely stunning dream. He sees 11 stars, the sun, and the moon, all of them bowing down to him. He tells his father, who instantly understands this is a prophecy, a vision of Yusuf's future greatness. But he also gives him a very serious warning. Whatever you do, don't tell your brothers about this, or they'll plot against you.
And this slide really breaks down the tension at home. On one side, you've got Yaqub's obvious love for his two youngest sons, Yusuf and Benjamin. But on the other side, you've got the 10 older brothers. And for them, that affection wasn't a good thing. It was a source of a deep, burning jealousy that was just about to explode.
I mean, look at how deep this envy went. It's shocking. They actually got together and conspired, with one of them suggesting the unthinkable. Let's kill our own brother. They eventually decided against that, but their final plan was just as cruel.
Can you even imagine? He's just a kid, only 12 years old. They trick him, take the special coat his father gave him, and literally throw him into a dark well, leaving him for dead. Then, to cover their tracks, they dip the coat in animal blood and go back to their father, telling him a wolf got his favorite son. Just heartbreaking.
But the story is far from over. It doesn't end in that dark well. In fact, this is where Yusuf's real journey of trials and tests of faith truly kicks into gear. A passing caravan finds him, and his life is about to take another wild turn. He gets sold for just a handful of silver coins and is taken to Egypt. There, he ends up in the household of a very important man, the Aziz, who was like a chief minister. And in this house, Yusuf grows up to be this incredibly wise, capable, and handsome young man, earning the total trust of his master. But just as things seem to be looking up, a new kind of test emerges. The Aziz's wife, who we often know as Zuleika, becomes obsessed with him. She tries to seduce him, putting Yusuf in a totally impossible situation. So in this moment of intense pressure, what does Yusuf do? He makes this incredible choice. He actually prays and says that he'd rather go to prison than betray God and his master. It's such a powerful move, choosing integrity when the easier path was right there. And so, even though he's innocent, he's falsely accused and thrown into prison, all to protect her reputation. And this brings us to a huge theme in the story, the idea of sabr. This word means patience, but it's so much more than just waiting around. It's about being steadfast, having forbearance, and trusting the plan, even when you're going through betrayal, slavery, and then unjust imprisonment. Now, even in the darkness of a prison cell, that gift that started all his trouble, his ability to interpret dreams, is about to become his ticket to freedom.
Just think about that for a second. We're not talking about days or months. He was in prison for years. Some accounts say as long as 12 years for a crime he didn't commit. That is sabr in action, and it makes his eventual rise from that place just all the more extraordinary.
So the king of Egypt has this really bizarre and troubling dream, and none of his advisors can figure it out. But then, one of Yusuf's old cellmates remembers his talent, and Yusuf is brought before the king. He doesn't just interpret the dream, 7 years of prosperity followed by 7 years of famine. He goes a step further. He lays out a brilliant economic plan to actually save the entire kingdom from disaster. So after his name is finally cleared, when Zuleika and the others confess the truth, Yusuf doesn't just ask to be set free. He knows his own skills. He steps up and confidently asks to be put in charge of the whole operation. The king sees his wisdom, and boom, Yusuf is promoted to one of the most powerful positions in all of Egypt. And now the story comes full circle. The devastating famine that Yusuf predicted is real, and it's spread all the way to his old home in Canaan. And who comes to Egypt, desperate for food? You guessed it, his 10 older brothers.
This is just a moment of perfect irony, isn't it? His brothers are standing there begging for grain from this powerful Egyptian minister with absolutely no clue that he's the little brother they left to die in a well all those years ago. But Yusuf? He recognizes them instantly.
So what's his play here? Is he going for revenge? Nope. Yusuf comes up with this clever plan, but it's a test. He wants to know if his brothers have changed. Would they abandon their youngest brother, Benjamin, just like they abandoned him? He puts them through the ringer to find out who they've become.
Finally, after returning without Benjamin, the brothers are just broken. They stand before Yusuf, completely humbled. All that arrogance from their youth is gone. They're just pleading for mercy, for some charity for their family and their old grieving father.
And then, this is the moment, the big reveal. He hits them with this one simple question, and you can just imagine the gears turning in their heads. Suddenly, it all clicks into place. The minister's strange questions, his interest in their family. They look at him, really look at him, and ask, "Wait, are you Yusuf?"
This is the climax of the whole story. Yusuf has every right to get revenge. He has all the power. And instead, he offers them complete, immediate, unconditional forgiveness. He tells them, there's no blame on you today. It's an unbelievable act of moral strength and maybe the greatest lesson in forgiveness ever told. So, after all that, what are the big takeaways from this incredible life? Yusuf's journey from the bottom of a well to the top of a palace is just jam-packed with timeless wisdom about what it means to be human.
Let's break it down into 5 key lessons. We saw his sabr, that incredible patience, in the well and in prison. We saw his unwavering faith that things would work out. We saw that mind-blowing forgiveness when revenge was on the table. We saw his resilience, getting knocked down again and again, but always getting back up. And finally, that self-awareness to know his own value and to step up when he was needed. And that really leaves us with one final thought. In our own lives, when we face our own challenges, big or small, this ancient story gives us a powerful guide for how to get through them with integrity, faith, and grace. It really makes you think, which of these lessons do we need to hear the most right now?